Hi everyone, I am Hisan, and today we are going to discuss what is JavaScript, why we should learn it, and how it works. So first of all, what is JavaScript? JavaScript is a programming language. Just like other programming languages like Python, C Sharp, Java, C, we have JavaScript. It was initially created to be run only in the browser for adding interactivity in the websites. And what interactivity means is when a user clicks on a button, when a user submits a form, those are the interaction from the user side. So it was initially created to be run only in the browser for adding these kind of interactivity. But later on, we had the invention of Node.js, which allowed the JavaScript to be executed on the server side as well. So I have this definition for you. JavaScript is the language that makes website come alive. HTML is the skeleton, CSS is the clothing, and JavaScript is the brain. And for this exact definition, I have this image for you. So you can see that all the HTML tags, the header, section, div, footer, the body tag, all that is HTML. And that is the basic structure of our website. Then we have CSS that adds the styling to our structure. So the clothing, we add the colors, we add the styles, the animations, that's all CSS. And then comes the JavaScript, the brain of the website. That brings our website alive. Now that brings us to our second question of the video. Why JavaScript over the other languages? So we have so many languages out there, and while in the world where AI is getting so much attention, and for some really good reasons, shouldn't we be learning Python instead of JavaScript? That might actually be a good thought. However, JavaScript is still everywhere. Even to complete the AI that you build using Python, the backend using Python, you definitely need a front end to complete your web application. And for that, the most popular way to build a modern front end is by using something called React.js or Vue.js or Angular, which are libraries and framework of JavaScript. So I have written down these 5 reasons why I think you should start with JavaScript, and then you can pick up any other language or the framework as per your likes. So the first reason is it runs everywhere instantly without any setup. You can run the JavaScript code. Every browser already has JavaScript built in. So no need for installing compilers or setting up something. You open up a browser, press F12, and you are coding. So that is really powerful. And how you do that, let's say I open up a new tab, I press F12 button, I open up this window, and here I can go to the console and write my code. So for example, console.log, and I write hello world. So you can see I can write the JavaScript and run it instantly without setting up anything. Everybody has a browser installed. Now the second point is that it teaches you core programming concepts. Whether be it functions, methods, loops, objects, asynchronous programming, JavaScript is going to cover it all. So mastering the JavaScript and then picking up another language or a framework is much easier. What people nowadays do is they pick up the framework and forget about the core programming language. For some people it might work out, but for majority you have to understand the fundamentals first. So we have our programming language called PHP. And inside PHP, we do not have the support for multiple inheritance. Inheritance is a core concept of object-oriented programming. And don't worry about these words, we will talk about object-oriented programming in our course as well. So the third point is it's the only language that rules the web, and which is true still today. If you want to build something interactive on your website, you have to use the JavaScript. Python cannot do the front-end things, Java cannot do that. It's the only JS thing. So let's take a real example. We have Netflix. Everybody knows about Netflix, right? And look at this reload button up here. And when I open up something and go to, let's say, get started, you can see it never reloads. But you can see the URL changed, but we never reloaded. So this is something that is done using a JavaScript framework like React or Angular or Vue.js. Now the fourth point is one language everywhere. So like I mentioned above, JavaScript was initially built to be run only in the browser. But with Node.js, I can use JavaScript on the backend too. And it is not just limited to the backend. I can use the JavaScript to build a mobile application as well, even the desktop applications. So I only need to master one language to build up a complete application on the front end, backend, mobile application, or the desktop. And the fifth and the last point is huge community and the job market. So JavaScript is consistently the most used language in the world. That means tons of learning resources, libraries, frameworks, and job opportunities. So if you run into any issue, let's say, you will probably find that exact problem on the web. And below you can see I have some of the frameworks of JavaScript. So we have Node.js that allows us to run the JavaScript on the server side. Then we have React.js, which is used to build up the modern front ends. We can also use the React concepts to build mobile applications. Then we have the Electron.js, which is used to build up desktop application. And then we have two of the most popular backend framework of JavaScript, that is Nest.js and the Express.js. So you can see we have a huge ecosystem in JavaScript. Now that brings us to the final question, how JavaScript actually works. So in this video, I'm just going to give you a high-level overview of how JavaScript works with an example and then explaining how the JavaScript works in the browser or with our code that we have written. So first of all, the bigger picture. Imagine a restaurant. The HTML is going to be the walls, tables, and the chairs, the structure of the restaurant. That is going to be the HTML. And you can visualize it in the image on the right side as well. So the chairs, the tables, the walls, these are the structure. Then we have CSS, which is going to be the interior design and the decor. And then we have our important thing, that is staff. So JavaScript is the staff. They're going to take your order, bring your food, respond to your queries. So they are a really important member of the restaurant. Now let's move this concept to JavaScript and in our website world. Without the JavaScript, our website just sits there. It's a static website. And with JavaScript, it can actually listen to user queries and respond according to those. So now let's take a look at this picture. So I've broke down the working of JavaScript into 5 simple steps. Now the step 1 is you open up a web page, let's say google.com. What happens is your browser downloads 3 things, HTML file, CSS file, and the JavaScript file. After that, the step 2 is browser is going to read your JavaScript. So as we mentioned earlier, browser has built-in JavaScript engine that reads and executes your code. So for example, Google Chrome uses an engine called V8. Think of it as a brain that understands your code, your instructions that we have written. Then JavaScript is going to read the page and build up a map of it. So you can understand what is the purpose of a map. A simple map to navigate to something, to reach a destination. So JavaScript builds a map of your entire web page, which is called DOM, Document Object Model. Don't worry about it, just remember the name DOM. We will talk about it later. And you can think of it as a family tree of every element that is on the page, every button, every heading, every paragraph that we have on the page. That is going to be converted into a tree-based structure, as I've shown in the image here as well. So the fourth step is JavaScript is going to wait and listen for something to happen. So JavaScript sets up event listeners. What are event listeners? We will talk about that. Don't worry. But it is something that is going to respond whenever something is going to happen on our website. For example, a click, a form submission, a key press. And that brings us to the step 5. Whenever something happens, JavaScript is going to respond to that request. And all of this is going to happen in milliseconds. So this is just the basic overview of how JavaScript actually works. And at last, I want to talk about how you can utilize JavaScript or what you can do after learning JavaScript. So think of JavaScript as your driver license. Once you have the driver license, you can drive a sedan, a truck maybe, if you can handle it obviously, and you can drive whatever you want to drive. So that is the exact case with JavaScript. If you master JavaScript, you can choose your field according to your like. So you can go into front-end development, you can build up user interfaces and their interaction, learn about maybe some framework like Vue.js or Angular or library like React.js. And if you're into backend development, you can go with Node.js and Express.js or maybe Nest.js as you like. You can also become a full stack developer, building up both the front end and the backend. You can also go into mobile app development. You can build up iOS and Android apps natively. We have 2 popular ways of doing that, and that is by using React Native or Ionic. React Native uses the React-based concepts and build up the mobile application. And what Ionic allows you to do is build up your web application, wrap it in a container, and that is shipped as a native application. So you have that flexibility as well, what you want to pick for the mobile app. You can also go and build up desktop applications, and you can do that using Electron.js, which is another framework of JavaScript. You can also go into machine learning and AI with JavaScript, but Python is the dominating language for that. So these are all the things that you can do with JavaScript learning. So it is up to you which field you choose. And that is all for this video. Let's talk about the core fundamentals of programming in JavaScript.